In this story, you will see Gulliver's magical journey and the life lessons it brings. Once upon a time, there was a sailor named Gulliver who loved to explore new lands. One day, he set sail on a big ship, excited to see where the waves would take him. But suddenly, a terrible storm struck. The wind roared, the waves crashed, and the ship rocked back and forth. Before Gulliver could do anything, the ship broke apart, and he was swept into the ocean. When Gulliver opened his eyes, he found himself lying on a beach. His arms and legs felt strange. They were tied up with tiny ropes. When he looked closely, he couldn't believe his eyes. Little people, no taller than his fingers, were standing around him, whispering and pointing. "Who are you, giant?" a squeaky voice asked. It was the king of these tiny people, called Lilliputians. Gulliver smiled and said, "I'm Gulliver, a sailor. I mean no harm." The Lilliputians were scared at first, but they saw Gulliver's kind face and decided to untie him. They guided him to their tiny kingdom, which was full of the smallest houses, animals, and even food Gulliver had ever seen. "Thank you for trusting me," Gulliver said. The king nodded and replied, "We have never seen someone like you before, but we hope you will be our friend." As days passed, Gulliver became a hero for the Lilliputians. He helped them in many ways. When the Lilliputians needed to move heavy rocks, Gulliver picked them up easily with one hand. One day, a huge bird swooped down and tried to scare the little people, but Gulliver stood tall and waved his arms, shouting loudly. The bird flew away, and the Lilliputians cheered, "Hooray for Gulliver!" The Lilliputians loved Gulliver, and he loved them too. But deep in his heart, he missed his home. One day he told the king, "Your kingdom is amazing, and I will always remember your kindness, but I must return to my world." The king nodded sadly. "We will miss you, Gulliver, but you are always welcome here." The Lilliputians worked together to build a giant raft, big enough for Gulliver. They loaded it with food and water for his journey. On the day of his departure, the entire kingdom gathered to say goodbye. Gulliver stepped onto the raft and waved to his tiny friends. The king called out, "Goodbye, Gulliver. You will always be a part of our family." As the raft floated away, Gulliver looked back at the tiny kingdom of Lilliput, shining in the sunlight. He smiled and said, "I'll never forget you." And so, Gulliver continued his travels, ready for more adventures, but he carried the love and memories of the Lilliputians in his heart forever.